Welcome back to NSA Bulls Podcast with me and Nick. Unfortunately, the Bulls just took a loss to the Orlando Magic. It was a close game, but we did end up losing that game. Nick, what did you see watching that?
It was a very ugly offensive game. We couldn't get it going. Orlando just really gets up playing the Chicago Bulls. It's the second year in a row where they won the game off a game, won a shot.
Yeah.
They did it with Jalen Suggs last year. They big man this year. Can't recollect his name right now, but he had a really good game. But Zach LaVine almost brought us back.
Yeah.
I mean, he hit some really big shots at the end of the game. I just, felt like the Bulls, as I've always been saying, they don't know how. Well, they don't know how to really control. I don't know how to put it. Control the controllables, or more so focus on the small details. It's the small details that make us lose these games, to be honest with you. Tonight, it was the rebounding. I mean, I'm looking at the game. I'm like, we can't get rebounds to save our life. We're really not a good team on preventing second chance opportunities for the other teams. I just feel like, we need all hands on deck when we're trying to secure those rebounds and stuff like that. So, but I thought the shooting wasn't the best. There was times it was okay. But
What did you see in DeMar DeRozan and Vooch tonight?
well, DeRozan didn't play tonight. DeRozan was out for personal matters. They was really missing his presence out there in terms of the scoring that he provides, and the fact that the game went down to the last stretch.
Exactly.
Typically, him being in the game, he's getting the ball.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was like a little different. Some guys were, just a little bit in different positions than they used to being in. But I was really hoping that, with the absence of DeRozan, that Vooch was going to have a strong game and Zach LaVine would have a strong game. They had very average games, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up the stats with them real quick.
Yeah, you definitely expect Vooch to have the bigger games versus the Orlando Magic, his old team. You would hope that he would.
Yeah, it's just, I'm looking at this game real quick and pull up these stats. Just focus on the Bulls right now. Vooch had 17 and 9. It looked good, but, he didn't play too well throughout the entire game. Missed a lot of, 2 feet, 3 feet layups. That was right at the rim. I saw a lot of times in the game where, they would swing that ball around. He would be, on the perimeter. He'd do the catch and sweep. He driving, and then he would get right to the rim, and then he kick it back out, right? And I'm like, man, you 7 feet tall, you got to just take the contact, finish strong and go to the free throw line. I know I make these things sound it's easier said than done. I know, I get it. Yeah. I'm not on the court, but he had his man beat in a lot of those opportunities, and then he kicked the ball right back out. Yeah. And as we already are well aware of, the Chicago Bulls are not a strong three-point shooting team. Yeah. So a lot of those times are empty possessions where you're kicking the ball out, the guys are getting a wide open shot, it's not converting on. Yeah. So that was that.
So I believe we fell 4-8 right now.
Yeah. I mean, looking at this record with 4-8,
okay. 4 games behind 500.
Exactly. Caruso has been doing some really good things for us coming into this season versus last season. He's way more aggressive offensively.
Yeah.
I feel like every time he plays, he's putting up some type of highlight. He's really started to, show his aggressive nature and being somebody you can rely on offensively. Defensively, he's always been that.
Yeah.
But, and I mean, he's always been capable of making shots. Yeah. But I think he's doing a good job of looking for his shot this season. So I'm happy to see that with him.
That's definitely a testament to the work ethic that he provides and he brings on the court.
Absolutely.
To be able to just break out of the defensive shell that he might have been boxed in, but to be able to provide some type of offense is amazing.
Absolutely. And then I go back to this topic all the time because I always feel like, because our team is lacking it and there's a guy who helps us in it, but his minutes are always minimized in general, I'm always bringing this particular person up, and that's Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond had 14 rebounds. Right. Had 14 rebounds on 12 minutes of play. The man had more rebounds than minutes played.
So what does that mean? He needs more minutes.
Exactly. But we're losing these games a lot of times just strictly off the rebounding.
Yeah.
When I look at the team stats real quick, rebounding battle. Yeah, well, so actually, you know what? I'm wrong. Total rebounds for the Bulls, they won at rebounding battle by 53-46. But when I look at the game, though, even though the stats say that, there was a lot of empty possessions that we couldn't get a hold of as the game went down to the last few minutes. I mean, obviously, we gave ourselves a chance with Zach hitting that clutch three, 2 clutch threes, actually, to tie the game at 94. But then, obviously, it went down to Orlando hitting that game with a shot. But overall, there's just some moments like that. Field goal percentage was not the greatest, but neither was the Magic. They both had 39%. 3-point shooting, 9 for 33. So 27% from there. I mean, we was pretty much neck and neck with Orlando, but that's not good, though, because Orlando was not supposed to be a good basketball team. Right. So, I mean, and we have these neck and neck games with them. We had damn near 20 turnovers. Magic had 13. So, I mean, there's always, when you look at the box, you look at these things, you're like, okay, we could have done better in certain categories, and you're not going to be perfect, but you just look forward to some improvement. That's how I look at these things. But yeah. But that's pretty much it. Off to the next game. With this team, it's been a really tough season so far. These games and how they losing these games. They're not getting blown out for the most part. They lose these games by a few points, and same thing with the Milwaukee Bucks game. There's just not good shooting. DeRozan, he only had like 11 points in that game, and Zach had like a little over 20. But I just feel like, man, I mean, I guess you could chalk it up like we most people feel like we should lose to Milwaukee, but there's a lot of games around that schedule that we need to really make up for, especially if we don't put ourselves in that play-in situation like last time. So,
Well, to say the least, the Bulls are in the hot seat right now. I've been watching even ESPN. They just been talking about the Bulls, criticizing the Bulls, and how we're just not playing well at all. And we have valuable pieces that a lot of teams are keeping their eye on right now. Scouting them out just in hopes that they might be able to land them. Because it seems around the league, the Chicago Bulls might be doing like a rebuilding process pretty soon and blowing up the team. So if that happens, Chicago Bulls fans don't be too surprised because it is in consideration, or it seems like it's in talks. So rumors. So we'll see about that.
Yeah. And my thing about that, though, is that it's not like these rebuilding phases have actually helped us. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of Bulls fans out there that's like, listen, we should just blow it up, right? But we're not the kind of team that quickly revamps. So, I mean, you remember 2016, we traded Derrick Rose, and then the following year after that, we traded Jimmy Butler for Zach LaVine, and, can't remember all the details of that trade on the cuff right now, but the point is, we knew that we was going to have some dog years at that point, right? And, I mean, we recouped back, but that was like a 4-year interval where we was just like a bottom of the barrel team. You just knew they was going to lose most games, right? These days, the games feel always winnable, but it's just like little missing pieces. And obviously we know missing Lonzo Ball and, certain guys might be in and out the lineup throughout the season. But I just don't feel really strong about a rebuild. I feel like a couple tweaks here and there, maybe a couple trades, but I don't know about a full rebuild, full wipeout. I don't know about that.
I feel like right with that is like very complicated. Like you definitely could be right in your regard, because in the past the Chicago Bulls have not taken the rebuilding phase, taken advantage of it really, and made the most of that opportunity. But I would give them the benefit of the doubt, because I know in between that period, the 4-year window you were speaking about, we got new ownership and management. So maybe they were able to put this together when we didn't really expect this, even though it didn't turn out well at all, but it was some type of excitement for the Chicago Bull organization. So maybe they'll be able to take on the responsibility of really capitalizing during this rebuild phase if they have to go in that direction. And it's really tough right now for the Bulls, because it's like a lot of factors that result in the team that we have now. Lonzo Ball is probably the first thing that pops up in my head. All right, and then also this the matchup between our two superstars or all stars, if you want to call it. They haven't really been performing the best together both on the floor together. You know, it seems like maybe Zach LaVine might have a good game. DeRozan's not all the way there. It's like they can never really be both on the same page. It's very rare they both had like 25 both or like 30 points. Like it's happened the first couple of years. But I can't really recall it recently.
Yeah.
So, and then also with that, another thing is we haven't been drafting well. You know, Patrick Williams, as we know, hasn't really shown his talent. We're not really sure what he can do, if he's going to be able to even provide something for the Bulls. And then also Terry, he's been in and out the Bulls, going back to the D-League or the G-League, whatever.
Dalen, yep.
Yeah, so it's like we have these picks that we haven't really been capitalizing on. So this all in all is really just it's bad.
Yeah, and you know, it's just disappointing. I mean, I didn't have the expectations of a championship. Just feel like individually all of these players are very, very talented players, and they'll be great assets to good, well-oiled teams, like really good teams. It's like maybe, you know, second round already playoff berth teams, or helping teams that are like right on that edge to get into the playoffs. Wherever you chop these players at around the NBA, they'll be really good additions to that. The Kobe Whites, obviously Caruso, DeRozan, obviously. But it's just putting these guys together. I really just think, like I've said before, that our primary issue is coaching. But you know, and unfortunately, I'm starting to get off the Zach LaVine train too, man, because even though he had 2 threes tonight, I was watching all 48 minutes. I mean, he finished the game with 19 points. That's not bad, but you need more from a guy with, you know, the star power that he has, especially without DeRozan.
Right.
You know,
he should be going for 40.
Exactly, but he's also had really, really bad shooting slumps. I mean, I think against Milwaukee, the game prior, he had 2 for 13. This game, he didn't shoot too well. He just had 2 memorable baskets down the stretch. You know, had it not been for those, he would have finished the game with 13 points. You know, so he literally got right to the under a minute left of the game and hit us 2 threes. But prior to that, he had a 13-point outing. Yeah. You know, so he wasn't even having a strong game leading into those 2 shots. So the 2 shots make it look better, more appealing, but he still underperformed for his expectation level. And that's not just my expectation level, it's just Bulls fans all over. He has to play better consistently. He had these games where he'll get 30, the next game he got 14. Right. He have another game he get 18, the next game he got 50, like he got against Detroit, you know. And, you know, when you add it all up and divide the amount of games so far in the season, the average looks good, but there's a lot of mediocre games he throws out there in between. I'm not asking for the man to have all NBA performance games every night. Right. Because that's what you asking from an MVP level player. Right. What I'm asking for him to have is be efficient. And I know it's not like I'm just saying just do it like he can't, like he could just hit an on button for it. But, you know, I need him to be efficient, you know, from an offensive standpoint, which is his primary objective while he's on the court. But I also want him to read defense better, too. Talked about this. I mean, it's not just his fault. And like I said, primarily it's a coaching issue. And it's not just him doing it. I just magnify him because we need him to be better in that category, given his athletic skill set, and then given the role he plays for this team. You know, no good team can really make it far without, if their best player doesn't commit on both sides of the floor. There's moments that he does commit, but he has like a lot of mental lapses throughout the game. Like, when do I help off the defense? When do I box that man out? Like, you know, it's ironic because I was talking on TikTok and one guy was like, you must be a casual because you asking a guard to be a rebounder. And I'm like, well, you know, rebounding is a team effort. You know, you can't assign rebounding to just one one guy on your team.
Right.
You know, everybody got to take that on, especially when the game gets in the crunch. You know, you got to be able to secure loose balls, the 50-50 balls, as we always hear everybody talk about. That's when the game is decided. And, you know, a lot of times we lose those possessions, tiring our defense out.
Yeah.
And then we end up relinquishing an open layup or open jump shot. And a lot of teams we go against don't miss as many open jump shots as we do.
Right.
I guess I just magnify it that way. And those are the little crack slippers, man. You know, when you can't convert in those little details like that, you can mess around and have a bad game, you know, or lose the game.
I just feel like for Zach LaVine, he can't handle the expectations of this Bulls situation that he's in. Now, teams are licking their chops at LaVine right now. They're licking their chops. Like, I've been even hearing stuff about the Lakers.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Lakers are always going to be thrown into the mix about something,
right,
ESPN or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But it's pretty valid, though. It makes a good point because Zach LaVine he's supposed to be the second best option on the team.
Yeah.
But if he's the third best option on the team, that might be pretty good.
I think so too. And I think like now that I've seen how he operates, there's nights where he can look like a really good number 2.
Yeah.
But I think he's more comfortable in that number 3 option. Given his game, he's one of the best catch and shoot shooters in the league. You know, but if he's under the right talent with the lower expectations, like you mentioned, yeah, he'll definitely shine because then he won't be on a scouting report to lock or hone in on as much all defensively, you know, if you're on the opposing team. So, yeah.
And then also, what I was going to say? Well, I forgot what I was going to say, but DeRozan, though. One thing about DeRozan, like, maybe he's not a number 1 option.
Well, you know what? It's not a bad point you brought up about that. I feel like DeRozan has always been an elite level talent his entire time in the league. But number 1 option,
that's pretty strong for him.
I think I don't know, man. I don't know how to put it.
I feel like
in a way that don't sound bogus.
Well, perfect example is what we're in right now.
Right.
He's the number 1 option. So if he's your number 1 option, but you have other number 1 options that you're facing against on a nightly basis, like Luka, Joker, Giannis,
right,
Jason Tatum,
right,
Ja Morant.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, these guys are clearly number 1 options, right?
Yeah.
DeRozan is definitely going to be second fiddle to those type of caliber guys. So if we're going to have him as a number 1 option, this might be the result, right? Any team.
That's true.
No shade on him. It's just, you know, what we've seen.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, you know, I've always felt like DeRozan love to have a guy like that on your team, but I also feel like sometimes his approach sometimes is a little too cool. It's a little too cool. Now, that's just my preference on that. I'd rather a guy that's a little bit more gritty. You know, I feel like that sometimes. And the times I've seen it, when you couple it with the A-level talent of that said player, it usually works itself out. You know, where it's like, okay, this guy, but a guy with A-level talent, but, you know, real laid-back, cool personality. And, you know, now there's moments that I've seen DeRozan get pretty pissed off. But I just feel as though that, you know, he's done a great job of trying to, like, get, like, the younger guys that come to, like, his, you know, his off-season workouts. P. Will and all of those guys.
He likes to be looked in that type of light, like the OG.
Yeah.
You know, like as he fades out his NBA career.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think he's a really good guy to be around, but I'm talking about just wins and losses at this point, right? And, you know, what really gets the team motivated. And some people be like, well, these guys shouldn't need motivation. But technically, on every level, people need people like that to kind of get their batteries going. You know, and you just try to figure out, like, who can fill that void if your said best player doesn't provide that. You know, in the case of the Golden State Warriors, as we're all aware of, I'm sorry, you know, Curry isn't the off the court battery back kind of guy. Everybody get that credit to Draymond Green for that, and maybe on the court they both kind of do it. It's just Curry leads with his play, Draymond leads with his vocal, and it kind of works itself out, and that's a perfect storm. You know, the rarities is getting it all in one player though.
You're definitely not going to find everything in one player. But and as your point though, Draymond is definitely like the vocal leader. But even Curry, you know, he does a pretty good job being vocal. I feel like he's just, you know, overpowered by Draymond Green. Which is not a problem because it's definitely worked. But I just feel like looking at the Bulls though, like, shout out to the Bulls organization for trying this out. Like, we really had nothing else really going on.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's exciting. It was exciting when it first happened, and then we brought on these expectations and they weren't able to meet them, so it's disappointing, but still grateful for the team that we had, and because we never know what the team we might have later in life. But I feel like this really opened up the eyes of NBA watchers on how these players are and these teams. Like DeMar DeRozan's probably not going to get another chance to be like a number one option.
He probably not, and he's had enough times in that role, and I'm pretty sure he'd be content if the opportunity wasn't available again. It's not like he's not gonna be in the league, so he's always gonna be there. And you know, who's to say they pick it up and have a strong next 4 or 5 games? We just never know. But one thing I want to give my cousin credit for, obviously, you know, shout out to my cousin Alex. He was like, we're looking at the last play, and I totally forgot to bring this up. You know, Ranchero, you know, forward for the Orlando Magic. They put the ball in the post, but Caruso's guarding him. And why is Patrick Williams not guarding him? You see that? Like, even though Caruso, they put Caruso in these situations that I just don't like, where they know that he's the energy of the team and he's the defensive guy, and they just wear him out, bro. Like, you can't put him in those positions.
He's undersized.
Exactly. And then when I did see that play, I don't know why I didn't bring it up earlier, but when he saw the play, there was nobody coming for the double or the help.
Right.
Everybody was worried about leaving a man and a guy getting a wide open shot. So it was just like basically like a one-on-one situation, and Caruso is losing tread to him, you know, and Williams is not guarding him. So it's like, that's the thing. So it's tough, man. It's tough, you know, and the expectations we have as Bulls fans, and then when it don't hit what you want to see or come even close to it, it's just really, really disappointing.
No, it's disappointing. I mean, losing period sucks, but losing games that we're supposed to win is like next level.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
so
we're talking about the Orlando Magic. This team is, you know, not going anywhere. And I mean, it's funny I'm saying that as a Bulls fan today. Yeah. But, you know, I mean, you could say the same thing about us.
Pretty much.
You know, Orlando, everybody knows, see, every season they ain't going nowhere.
Right.
You know, I mean, no one talks about Orlando unless they got like a...
For at least the next 3-4 years.
Exactly. I mean, they got some good pieces, but you losing these kind of games... it's just not good for our mental resolve. I mean, obviously you could look back and say, well, they didn't have DeRozan. But, I mean, you still should be able to win this game without DeRozan. That's how I look at it. So, yeah. So, currently on a 2-game losing streak right now, you know, because of that. Milwaukee lost, now the Orlando Magic lost. Yeah. You know, but what about around the league, man? What you been seeing around this league lately?
Around the league, what have I been noticing? What teams? The Philadelphia 76ers are looking good.
Man, don't they?
They're looking real good.
They do. They really do.
And I know they feel good being James Hardenless, so they can focus on the team and not just the antics of one player.
Man, Maxey is a problem.
I think right now, Maxey and Embiid are like the highest scoring duo in the NBA right now.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I know Joel is taking most of that not that role of the scoring, but still impressive for those two.
Yeah.
And seeing Maxey really grow into the point guard position that he's been doing.
Yeah, man, and like the defense he's been playing, the offense, all of that set in stone. I mean, they get a lot out of this guy right now.
They are.
And, he's just gelling really well with Embiid. But like you said, they the highest scoring duo as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
And right behind them is another killer duo, and that's Luka and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
So, I mean, man, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
Philly did a really good job.
Right now, Philadelphia is looking like the best team in the East. But of course, like most people, we're expecting the Bucks to kind of just have that push and kind of gel a little better, so they can probably achieve that number one spot. So, right now, shout out to Philadelphia, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens later down this season, and to see if the Bucks can kind of get that spot, or even the other teams too. Miami, definitely consistent. As always, they've been playing pretty well. And then you got the Boston Celtics, of course. They've been looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. I know we have our comments about the Boston Celtics, in particular Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But we're going to see if they can keep up that the style of play they've been playing and just the intensity.
Yeah,
it's been working pretty well, but I still do have my doubts. I understand what you mean about Jason Tatum, though. I have my doubts about him too, especially when things get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah,
and will he be able to provide everything that the team might need to get that win?
Yeah, because sometimes I know I'm being like overtly meticulous, right? But I feel like what I be looking at is not the sexy stuff. Mm-hmm. Because everybody in the league getting buckets these days. I mean, everybody getting buckets. I mean, you could name about 15 players in the league that's certified bucket getters for real. I mean, every night you look up, somebody got 35 to 40 points. So I'm looking at, like, what are you doing as a differentiator from the others? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at what you do against the best teams in the league when it's time to win. I mean, obviously, you can look at the first quarter and say, we're talking about late third quarter, fourth quarter, all second half. What do you do in those moments when it's really like
yep.
that part, 5 minutes of a game? I mean, the whole game matters, but what I'm really looking at is those must-win situations. Like, right. What do you do and
how you execute it.
Exactly. What's your execution like?
Yep. Are you playing smart basketball? Are you playing smart basketball against some of the best teams like the Denver Nuggets?
Exactly.
So
yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I know I'm being meticulous about it, but for the Tatums of the world who've proved to get to the finals already, conference finals appearances, numerous of those.
Yep.
That's what I'm looking for, because I know that's what's probably necessary for him to win. I mean, for the Celtics to win, they need him to do little things like that, and I just want to see him take on more of those challenges that are not necessarily like the appealing things of the game.
Yeah. And that's why personally I probably wouldn't put my money on Boston. Right. But it's never too late for Boston and Jason Tatum to start grasping that.
Yeah.
And achieving what they want to achieve, the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
It's possible. They're not far from it. But it's just like little tweaks that they have to do. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, when I'm looking at these standings right now, right, so talking about both conferences, the Celtics right now is leading the conference, and then you got Philly right behind that, and Indiana Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton. They're playing some exceptional basketball right now.
And teams like the Pacers, they're the teams that they're going to catch you off guard.
Yeah. Because
you're not expecting them to be where they are.
Exactly.
But they play hard, though. Like, they play really hard. They're kind of like they kind of model like the Sacramento Kings,
in a sense. I say so.
In a sense, because this the way the intensity they play with, the grit they have, and they also have just a bunch of random talent. So
yeah, I can see that. Then obviously you got the Bucks right after the Pacers. They about tied as of right now. Then you got the Heat.
Yep.
In that fifth seed or so.
Yep.
The Knicks with Jalen Brunson in that, they obviously gonna be in that playoff hunt. Then you got the Nets, then you got the Hawks. That's what finishes out for the 8th seed. And then we look at that Western Conference. The Nuggets, as we expect, are leading that charge.
Yep.
With Minnesota Timberwolves in the second.
I love it, man. I love it. I feel like I've been waiting. Last year, I wanted them to be what they are this year. But I guess it just took a little bit more time. Because the NBA is hard, so you got to learn how to win.
Exactly. Then you got the Mavs, man. Luka and Kyrie and Cole, they're starting to gel. Hardaway, they got some really good solid pieces over there.
Yeah, you can always rely on Hardaway.
Yeah. But the Rockets, though, they crazy, man. They went on a 6-game winning streak.
Wow.
They've been balling, bro. They not like no one expected them to play this. They got some pieces like Fred VanVleet.
Yep.
He a new acquisition. Dylan Brooks.
Yep. Got some leadership there with those two guys.
Yeah.
That's a good situation for them.
Yeah.
And they got a lot of talent, a lot of scoring.
They do.
Scoring the ball is not going to be a problem.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. And then, obviously, you got Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is a sleeper team for me.
That's a solidified playoff team in my book.
Yeah, man, with SGA, they got some Chet. They got some really good pieces over there.
Yep.
And then you got the Kings, man. You got the Kings, and then rounding that out, you got the Lakers and then the Warriors.
Okay.
So right now, I mean, yeah. It's impressive, man. Phoenix not even in the playoff hunt right now. I mean, well, it's early, so everybody technically in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, it's just a lot of talent. It's kind of hard to see one of these teams not being in the playoffs. But we're talking, over 60 games from now.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like once they get around 30, 40, halfway through the season, you kind of get a feel of who's gonna be around and who not. For that playoff push for both conferences. Mainly,
Do you have any teams in mind that might not be playing well now, but you kind of expect to have a playoff push towards later in the season?
I want to say the Clippers, but because it's hard to say.
It is hard.
A team with that kind of talent don't make the playoffs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's just kind of hard to rationalize that, and it's too early to call it that. But right now they're on a 6-game losing streak since they got hurt.
Yeah, Ty Lue, he has his hands cut out for him.
Yeah,
because something has to give. Right. I know there's been talk about Harden maybe coming off the bench.
Yeah,
and that might be a good move for them.
Right.
But it's going to take Ty Lue to be able to make those adjustments.
I agree. I don't even know why. I feel like they didn't need to make the trade. They probably thought they needed to make the trade because, as an insurance policy, what I'm hearing about Kawhi and PG and how they always getting hurt. But I didn't like how they got rid of Batum. I thought he was a really good complimentary piece for them. And they don't need another ball dominant player. They got enough of that. And we know who Harden is. I mean, Harden been in the league for well over 12 or 13 years at this point. I mean, you know what kind of player he is.
Right.
It's hard for a guy to just change it up.
Right.
When he never had to do that before.
And he's not the same player anymore. He's not as good as he used to be. So
No.
Yeah.
So it's pretty shaky early on. Hey, but we got to talk about it, bro.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Headlock? Oh, what?
Yeah, they said that boy Draymond putting people in headlocks like, oh boy, off Baby Boy.
Yeah, right. Bro.
Yeah, how Tyrese got it.
Yeah.
But man,
that shit was crazy. I feel like Draymond was just doing the most. He must have been doing that for a minute.
Man, he seemed like he was so eager to do that.
So
he's like, he wanted to Clay, but even when I replay the footage, I can't catch it. Yeah. I can't catch it quick enough.
He grabbed him, touched him a little bit, and as soon as Draymond saw that, he put him in a chokehold.
Yeah, but Rudy Gobert, he probably made an interesting point there. He said every time Curry ain't playing, this man want to find a way to get ejected. But I think somebody put up a stat that I saw saying that last 11 games, Draymond got suspended 7 of them. So I don't know if there's a lot of truth in that.
That boy tweaking.
Only person really know it to be true is Draymond. If you really own that.
Right.
But Gobert is an interesting point, but I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna crack down with that on.
Overall, the Golden State Warriors haven't been playing that well.
No, not the last few games I've caught.
Yeah.
They haven't been playing.
I guess we all kind of expect them to get out of that. So
yeah, I don't expect. I mean, this team is IQ level on You know, I feel like the only team that's on a level IQ or close to it is the Denver Nuggets. I'm talking about as a collective team.
Right.
I ain't talking about one player.
Right.
Like, both of those teams make great basketball plays. They both play selfless basketball for each other. Obviously, they both have a really, top-notch A-level franchise player. But,
they're doing everything right, both of those teams.
Exactly.
When
it comes to winning, right? They're not gonna make mistakes to themselves like unfortunately our Bulls do.
Right.
Our Bulls will make mistakes to keep teams in games.
Yep.
They don't really do it as much. I mean, every team has a bad night.
Mm-hmm.
But the identity of those teams, the Denver Nuggets, Golden State Warriors, they always put themselves in position to win every single game.
Mm-hmm.
If you come out and beat them, you just had it going. That's not how they got it going on. But yeah, man, it's interesting ball right now, man.
It is.
Interesting basketball right now. So
yeah, this is just a side note, but I watch Jokic play ball, man. It seems like he just playing with kids out there.
Yeah.
Like he just be tipping the ball, tip, and tip it in the rim, grab the rebound, you look around, you throw a pass, find an open 3-point shooter.
He's so patient.
He's patient.
He's so patient, man.
And it's just like he just plays at whatever speed he wants to play at.
Exactly.
So it's gonna be tough for any team to beat them in 7-game series. So these teams better step their game up, or we're gonna be seeing a repeat.
Yeah, I got Denver being in at least in the conference finals. Nothing less than that.
Yeah.
They going back.
Yeah.
They going back. I mean, you got Jamal Murray's out right now, but it's nothing serious. He'll be right back.
He'll be back, man. And that's just only gonna make the team stronger.
They
already know what he's gonna provide when he gets back.
Exactly.
He's the same old Jamal Murray.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty tough out there. Denver is, man,
It's scary, bro, and they're literally clearly the best team in the NBA. Like, they're expected to win every game. That's kind of how, when I go into games, when I watch them play, I'm like, oh, they're probably going to win. And I feel the exact opposite about our Chicago Bulls. I go into the game, I'm like, I don't feel strong about this.
Yeah.
I never feel comfortable or strong that the Bulls are going to get a win.
No.
Never.
No.
And that is terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it's our main catalyst. It's our coach, and then it's the Zach LaVines of the world, the DeRozan, and then Vooch. Like those four right there, they can't play. They can't all be on the same page.
Yep.
I mean, they might say they're on the same page, but like their play is so inconsistent.
Yep.
Mainly, if I really narrow it down, mainly Zach. In Vooch. I mean, I've seen DeRozan with some bad games, but
he's a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, you know what you're getting out of DeRozan.
Yeah,
you know what you're getting out of DeRozan.
Two things for me: they got overpaid.
Yes,
practically all of them. But it was worth a shot. We came from nothing. We're gonna see what we can do. But the second thing is everybody needs to be put down a spot, move down a spot. So DeRozan needs to be a second option. Zach LaVine needs to be a third option. Vooch needs to be a fourth option. And if that was the motto and we had a real number one option, this Chicago Bulls team would be a different look. That or Alonzo Ball never got hurt because it seemed like shit was amazing then.
Yeah.
But who's to say how that truly would have been?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, man. I agree with what you're saying, but it's just as the losses keep piling up, the optimism gets less and less. But goddamn Chicago Bulls, get it together,
please,
man. So that pretty much covers everything.
Yeah.
For this week.
Yep.
As we appreciate y'all, like, share, and subscribe.
Yep.
We'll always keep pushing out these videos, letting y'all know our 2 cents on how we feel about the Chicago Bulls and around the league. There's a lot going on every other day. Every game, there's something going on. A lot of highlights, a lot of stuff going on. Tune into the TikTok page that we got as well, too.
Yes, sir.
Instagram as well, too.
Yes, sir.
That's mainly the two drivers that we use. And obviously, YouTube is where our videos will be showcased. So,
Chicago Bulls, please play better. Please.
Oh, my God. Please, man. Why don't y'all just match Caruso's energy? How about that? How about everybody on the roster needs to look at how he played, and y'all play just like him.
Yep, exactly.
Play just like Caruso.